Welcome to your guide or how to plan to save money for a down payment on a purchase of a house, whether it's in Anaheim Hills or Orange County or anywhere in the USA. It's the same plan. Hi, I'm Mike Patel with First Team Real Estate right here in Anaheim Hills, California, and welcome to my channel. So before we buy a house, we need to know how much you can afford a house. And based on that purchase price, you need to know how much down payment you are going to need. So let's look right into the down payments and how much payment you are going to need to purchase the type of home that you can afford in the area that you may be looking for. The number one setback, according to my experience in people not buying a house, is that they believe they cannot buy a house. It's a mindset. And the belief is not that they cannot buy a house, they cannot make the monthly payments, they cannot take care of the house. The belief is they don't have the money for a down payment. That's what stopped the American dream. So a down payment is one thing when you purchase a home, but there are other things when you buy a house. One is, of course, the down payment, whether it's 5% down or 10% down, and we'll talk about it in the next segment. The other thing is there are closing costs, which is the cost that you need, especially in California. There's escrow fees, there's title fees, there's notary fees, there's homeowners insurance transfer fees, there is property taxes. Those are the prepaids. So on top of the closing costs, there are prepaids, which is the property taxes, which you may need anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And also there is prepaid insurance, fire insurance. A lot of lenders require 12 to 14 months of prepaid insurance, mortgage and fire insurance. And then there are reserves, which is some of the lenders want you to have 2 or 3 months extra payments after you close the escrow, so in case something happens on emergency, you have money to pay. So in order to buy the house, here is what you need. The 4 things you may need. Number 1 is your down payment, whether it's 5% or 10% or 20%, and we'll talk about the figures right now. Then there's a closing cost, which is usually about 3% in general. Then there's a prepaid, which includes in that 3% cost. And then there's reserves. So let's look at the numbers. I'm going to give you a breakdown on a $500,000 house. As you may know, if you're in Orange County, the median home sales price in Orange County is $900,000, which is quite a bit. So let's say you want to buy a house for $800,000 or a $500,000 townhouse. Let's go through some numbers so I can explain to you what the closing costs are, the down payments are, and the prepaids are, just to give you a breakdown. On a $500,000 house, if you put 10% down, it's $50,000. And then below that are closing costs. It shows you the escrow settlement fee, the lender's title policy, the discount point, which depending on which lender you use, lenders charge anywhere from 0 to half to 1 point on average of the loan amount. In this case, the loan amount is $450,000. So 1 point of that is $4,500. So that's part of your closing cost. So this will increase your closing cost because of the mortgage fees. Then you have processing fees, you have home warranty, you have notary signing fees. So all those costs add up to almost $10,000, as you can see in the total closing cost below. On the right hand side, if you look at the prepaids and impounds, you can see that they're charging 5 months taxes at, let's say, 1.25% property tax. That comes out to $2,600, and they're estimating 15 months of prepaid insurance, which is about $2,500. Of course, these are just approximate numbers. Depending on exactly what county you are and which lender you use, these will change, but the numbers are just for an example. So if you look at the payment breakdown, you see that the principal and interest is almost $1,900. Your real estate taxes are $520. Homeowners insurance is $166. Monthly mortgage insurance. This is the insurance if you put less than 20% down. So it applies over here. And then I've added a HOA, which is the homeowners insurance, homeowners association fees, should you buy a house that has association fees there. If the community does not have association fees, you won't have that. So your total payment is about $3,100. In other words, if you buy a townhouse, a 2 bedrooms or 3 bedroom townhouse in Orange County for $500,000, you only need a total of $10,000 in closing cost, $50,000 in down payment, and about $6,800 in prepaids, which brings it to $66,000 approximately. Of course, I said only, So in a way, it is a lot of money, but on the other sense, when it comes to a purchase price, you don't need a $500,000 to purchase a home. You just need $66,000 in this example. Let's look at this example for $800,000. So if you buy a house in Orange County or anywhere for $800,000, and if you put 10% down, you have a down payment that's required of about $80,000. And assuming you have an interest rate of 3%, we'll talk about your payment at the end. Closing cost at the bottom, again, escrow, title, origination fees, which is the mortgage fees, underwriting fees, appraisal, notary, and miscellaneous fees comes out to $13,000. Prepays on your right-hand side, in this case, it's 3 months of taxes, and the amount of tax you pay varies on when you buy the home, whether it's March or April or October, because taxes, at least in California, Orange County, you pay every 6 months due in November and April. So again, if you look at the payment breakdown, you see that your monthly payment is $5,300 approximately, $5,359.97 on an $800,000 house with a 3% interest rate. And your total cost, ABC, which is the down payment, closing cost, and prepaids, is $103,000. So let's talk about how you can save money for your down payment for your dream home. So let's come up with an example of a $500,000 house. And let's say you would like to put 10% down on a house purchase. Of course, you can buy with an FHA loan, which is the Federal Housing Authority loan. You only need 3.5% down. In other words, you can buy a $500,000 house with only $15,000 down payment plus your closing cost and your prepays. So pretty close to $20,000 you could buy a house. So for this example on a $500,000 house, assuming we put 10% down, you're gonna come up with $50,000, or that's what you are going to need. Now, let's assume you don't have this money. So how do you plan to save? Well, let's look at this. Assuming that you have the closing cost and you're gonna borrow some money from your friends or family, or you have some 401k that you can use towards your primary home. First of all, you have to have a plan to save up that down payment. So let's look at an example. If you want to buy, let's say, a house in 5 years and you want to save $50,000, how much of savings do you need to make every month? Well, in 5 years down the road, you need to save $1,000 a month so that you have $50,000 in 5 years. If you want to buy it in 3 years, if you save $1,400 a month, you will have in 3 years $50,000 down payment. If you want to buy in 2 years, you can save $2,100 a month. And if you want to buy a house in just 1 year and you want to save up for a down payment, then you need to save $4,166 a month to get to buy your dream home, assuming it's a $500,000. So if you break down the numbers, it's quite doable. Now, it may seem very difficult. Oh my gosh, how am I going to save $1,000 a month or $3,000 a month? Well, assuming you are married, or 2 sisters are buying together, or 2 brothers are buying together, or 2 friends are buying together, it's $500 each that you can save. So you can save up $50,000, or it's $2,000 each. So it's quite doable if you have a plan that you can sit down and work out. So saving is one thing, but the biggest thing to come up with a down payment and purchase a home is to have a plan to stop the bleeding of your expenses. Wow, what is that? What do I mean by bleeding of the expenses? Well, when you buy a house, you must have a certain expenses and you must have a certain debt ratio. So that means the more expenses that you cut on your monthly expenses, the more house you can buy. The second plan, which is to save money by cutting back your expenses. So here are some of the things you can do to cut your expenses. Now, to do that, like I mentioned earlier, you must have a plan. Now, to have that plan, you must have a mindset to start saving. If you don't have the mindset to save and don't have a plan to cut back your expenses, you're never gonna save. A lot of the buyers that I've talked to, they don't think they can buy because they don't have the belief and the mindset to buy, and the hurdle is the down payment. So assuming you have the mindset to buy and you really want to buy a house, here's the things where you can cut back. Number one thing is you can cut back on your lifestyle. We all want to go to Starbucks. We all want premium channels. So all those you can cut back. $50 here, $50 there, $30 over there. If you're planning on buying a car, which you need to go to work, maybe you don't want to buy a Mercedes or a expensive car. Buy a low budget car for now, and later on you can get it. So the $200, $300 a month payment that you're saving on your car, you can put it towards your savings. The other thing you can do, again, this is a mindset, is that if you think $500,000 is too much to buy a house or $800,000 is too much to buy a house, settle for a $400,000 condo. lower your price, lower your down payment, so you increase your probability of buying something. This all has to do with mindset. The other thing that you can help yourself is, you might say, well, homes are expensive. As I mentioned earlier, Orange County, the median home price is $900,000. Of course, if you are thinking of going to Newport Beach or Irvine or some expensive areas, maybe you want to stay where you live and buy a house there as your first home. So don't get stuck on buying a house in a certain city at a certain price range. Buy where you can afford and get started. Time is of the essence, because the earlier you start, the sooner you pay off the 30-year mortgage. By the way, talking about mindset, what I'm saying is, to buy a house, you have to become frugal, really frugal. Richest people in the world own property. They are homeowners, they are property owners. If you haven't read the book, The Millionaire Next Door, I read it 10 years ago, and there's 3 things they talk about what millionaires are. One of the things that they are frugal, obviously, but the average millionaire wears his old suit. He doesn't buy a suit every year. He's still staying in the same house that he bought 15 years ago. Look at Warren Buffett, a billionaire. And until a few years back, he lived in the same house that he bought 40 years ago and drove the same pickup. The thing that I'm trying to say is that to change your mindset, to have that action plan, you have to change your thoughts. You have to become frugal, assuming that you are not struggling, but trying to save money. If you have the money, if somebody's gonna give you the money and you're gonna inherit the money, you don't have to change your lifestyle. Go for it, take the $50,000, go buy a house. But if you're not in that situation, start saving, have the mindset, and keep going. Let us know when you plan on buying a house, or what you plan to start saving, or if you have any challenges that you're having to start saving. Hopefully your mindset is not stopping you from buying a home. It's usually the down payment that stops people from buying the home. So be different, be a homeowner. Start soon. Thank you.